Something is coming. I can feel it. Dark forces are upon us.
So today we're going to be talking about Warcraft. This is one of the best video game movies I've seen in a long time. It's definitely way better than the other ones. But the problem with it is that it's not the best story in general. I don't think it's a good movie as it stands. It attempted to please too many people. It attempted to please the fans of the lore. It also attempted to please a broader audience. And what you got was a little bit of column A, a little column B. It's pretty mundane, not great, just mundane. The special effects are great. The world looks amazing. The fantasy characters just pop out of the screen, especially the orcs. The orcs are the best looking characters in the whole movie, and they're actually something I wish they would have focused on a lot more than they did. The original plot of the story is pretty much being told verbatim. There are minor details changed here and there that only like nitpicky people would pretty much notice. Mostly it's the actions of the characters or famous quotes that aren't used and stuff like that. But other than that, it's pretty much the plot of the original story. Those uninitiated into video games will probably feel like they're taking a final exam when watching this movie, but without the prerequisite study guide. And I think that's one of the biggest things this movie has against it. If you know the lore, you'll probably like this movie. You'll probably be able to follow along, no problem. But you won't be wowed by what you're presented. It's pretty much just the basic elements of the plot. No real character development, no major twists and turns, no really straying from the source material, which is honestly great. As a fan of the games, I thought it was pretty neat. As a moviegoer, I thought it was lacking a little bit in character development and dialogue. Dialogue was horrible in this movie. The theme of the game is in here, though. The theme of the orcs being these refugees seeking asylum in this new world that's already inhabited, so they have to either clear the path for their own people to survive or coexist with the humans. And of course the humans are seen as defenders of their nation who see no reason to give up their land, to give up their life for these alien trespassers. Biggest problem I have with this movie is the pacing. The pacing is just atrocious. It feels rushed. You don't really get to know these characters. You don't really get to know their emotions. Nothing really. It was also rushed, and it went so rapidly through these scenes that even I, as a person who has been in the Warcraft series for a long time, had a hard time following some of these stories. It was like they were throwing scenes at you, they were just throwing words at you. It didn't really feel like they did a good job representing the world of Warcraft. Not the game, but the actual world of the Warcraft series into this movie in a way that would have made people happy to see something like new IP, a new world for them to dwell in. But unfortunately, all the blame cannot be put on the director. Maybe some on the editor, but not so much. More than anything, it's the producers and the production company. Basically, what we know is that the director originally made this into a 3-hour movie, a 3-hour Lord of the Rings-esque epic. And because they didn't see this as a movie that should be 3 hours long, I don't know why. The stupidest thing I think they did. They made the director cut something like 40 minutes out of the movie, and you can see it. You can see the scenes don't transition well. You can see the scenes were rushed. The dialogue was rushed. Things were just going too fast. The pacing atrocious. Duncan Jones, the director, has said that he will release the 40 minutes, the extra 40 minutes he cut out in his director's cut DVD, Blu-ray, if the movie makes enough money. Thankfully, it looks like internationally it's broken even. Here nationally in the US, it hasn't made that much money so far, so we still have to see that. At the end of the day, I guess you want to know: is this movie good? Should you go see it? Um, and I know I've been pretty hard on this movie so far, but the answer is actually yes. The movie is pretty much a blockbuster. Uh, Very simplistic plot blockbuster, with some twists and turns from the story. Um, it's a little mundane, a little predictable, but it is taken directly from the Warcraft plot, from the Warcraft lore, so you do get to see some of those elements in here. Another thing is that this movie wants so badly to be a franchise. You can tell while watching it that they were setting up future events. The biggest reason is that this particular story chosen for this movie is the weakest of all of the Warcraft universe. It's not even the first one, but it is one of the weakest ones. But it sets up a lot of the other big stories, such as Arthas, Illidan, Sylvanas Windrunner, all those really big characters, really big storylines that the Warcraft audience loves. But that's also what holds it back, because it doesn't feel like a complete movie. It feels more like half a movie. Um, it doesn't have real resolutions to the plots. It doesn't have real resolutions to the characters. It just doesn't feel like it's completed. Last thing I want to touch on is the critics. The critics of this movie, the paid critics, the official critics, gave this movie horrible reviews. I think it's something like 3 out of 10. Personally, I give it something like a 7 out of 10. I think they went way too low, not because of the story, but because of where the story comes from. It comes from video games, it comes from fantasy, and you could tell that these people don't really respect the medium as a storytelling device. Most reviewers I found were very cynical in the way they talk. One reviewer in specific, from IMBD, I forget what it was. I think it was from the Inquisitor. This is his quote: "This movie does not have much in plot, but what do you expect from a video game-based movie?" That pretty much says so much about how they feel about video games, whether we should even be trying to get stories out of these games. But that's ridiculous, because the world has changed. These people have outdated ideals of what games are. They don't understand that games can really be um, these amazing plot devices. Um, the other critics I want to talk about also are the fanboys, who are skewing the reviews in the complete opposite. So basically, if you go to IMDb or Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes, any of these sites, you'll see the official critics give it a very low score, something like 3 out of 10, like I said. But the fanboys, all these audience reviews, give it something like 85%, 90%. And honestly, that's ridiculous. This movie is not that high of a regard. Don't get me wrong, I understand what they're doing. They're trying to get the franchise going. They're trying to get those other stories, these great stories, the Arthas stories, the Illidans, all those characters that they love, that they actually want to see in the movie theaters. They want to get the sequels made. But this isn't truthful to how this movie in particular is. It's at least a 65%, 6.5, at most a 7.5, honestly. At most, and that's being generous. I remember this also happened in Batman v Superman. The first 2 weeks of the movie coming out, all the fanboys took over the critics' websites and they made the scores jump up something like 96%, I believe I saw once. And that's ridiculous, because that movie is atrocious. And it later evened out after 2 weeks or something like that. More people started seeing it, and they started really talking about how bad it was. And I think that's what's gonna happen with this one. Right now, the reviews from critics are outdated ideals. The reviews from the fanboys are fanatic obsession. Really, this movie is an okay movie to go see. If you have a Friday night, you're nothing to do, go watch it. Really, go watch it. It's way better than all the other movies out there right now in theaters. Definitely way better. It has so much action, so much good stuff that'll keep you entertained. At least it won't keep you enthralled in the story because of the lackluster dialogue, plot, character development, but it'll definitely keep you entertained. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on this. See you guys later.